I woke up in Arcadia, California on Lucille Street. I was 2 years old. My first years of my life, this is my first memory ever. I came running out of the bedroom crying. The reason I was crying is I was woken up from a dream. And the dream was that my older brother AC had broke my horse-shaped piggy bank on the apron at Santa Anita. This is the first memory of my life ever. To answer your question about when did I first want to become a jockey, I think I was born to be a jockey.
In the world of thoroughbred racing, some jockeys are known for discipline and some are remembered for instinct. Our guest today is a man widely considered one of the most naturally gifted riders to ever sit in the saddle. Over a career spanning decades, he has won more than 4,300 races, placing him amongst the most successful jockeys in American racing history. His career includes winning the 1989 Kentucky Derby aboard Sunday Silence, and one of the sport's most talked about rides, his charge from the back of the field on Arazi to win the Breeders Cup Juvenile in 1991, a race many fans still point to as one of the greatest performances ever seen. People in the sport often talk about his feel for a horse, his timing, his calm under pressure, and his ability to make split-second decisions in the middle of chaos. He built a reputation for seeing openings others didn't, trusting his instincts, and making daring moves at speeds where there's almost no room for error. But his story goes far beyond the winner's circle. It's about extraordinary highs, public setbacks, resilience, and a life spent in one of the toughest and most demanding sports in the world. And now at 63, he's stepping back into the saddle for another chapter. Mr. Patrick Valenzuela, thank you for being with me today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you inviting me here to your podcast and opening the ears and eyes to the public about horse racing.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So my first question for you is what made you want to become a jockey? Why did you become a jockey?
Why did I want to become a jockey? Well, that's a good question because most little kids want to be a football player, a baseball player, other things in life, doctors, lawyers. And those things were on my mind growing up. But my furthest memory I ever had in my life as a child. And this is crazy because my mom said I was about 2 years old when this memory happened, when I thought my life had begun. I woke up in Arcadia, California on Lucille Street at a house that we were renting from the Briseños right next door. And I was 2 years old. My first years of my life, this is my first memory ever. I woke up crying. I came running out of the bedroom crying. And I remember arms reaching out, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm crying, Chato, Chato. And she goes, what's wrong? What happened? And my brother's still asleep. We called him Chato as a kid, AC Valenzuela Jr. And the reason I was crying is I was woken up from a dream. And the dream was that my older brother AC had broke my horse-shaped piggy bank on the apron at Santa Anita. Isn't that crazy? It's like, this is the first memory of my life ever. And I woke up with this dream of my brother just throwing down my piggy bank and all the coins going everywhere. And the funniest thing about it is I never had a horse piggy bank. And I don't know where that dream came up from or what happened, but that's the first memory of my life that I've ever had. And that's my first memory.
Wow.
To answer your question about when did I first want to become a jockey, I think I was born to be a jockey. I know there's no doubt in my mind. From that first memory of a horse at Santa Anita on the apron. And now it all comes to fruition why that happened in my dream as a child. Because later on, 16 years later, I'm riding at Santa Anita and becoming the youngest rider to win the Santa Anita Derby. But growing up as a child, all I ever wanted to be was a jockey. I mean that was my first goal in life, was to become a jockey like my father, like my uncles. There was 5 boys in my father's family who were jockeys. It was Santiago, Mario, my father, Milo, and Angel, all great riders. And my uncle Milo was probably the most successful out of the 5. He won the Kentucky Derby twice. He was the regular rider for a horse named Kelso, Horse of the Year 5 years in a row in the late '60s. And I was just I was just so in love with horses and so in love with the idea of being a jockey. And I mean, that's all I ever thought I was going to be, as a jockey. I mean, from the from being born to all my life. So,
So you're 2 years old. Your first memory is of a horse, right, with money inside of it, broken.
on
But
the
that
apron.
right, yes. And then you grew up with a family of jockeys, so you were around horses most of your life growing up, and then you win your first race at the age of 16.
Well, that was in New Mexico, but I was the youngest rider to win the Santa Anita Derby. So
I
that,
see.
I mean, it kind of means a lot to me that I'm the youngest rider to win the Santa Anita Derby, and I also have the record at Santa Anita for apprenticeship. An apprentice is a jockey that's starting his career against veteran jockeys. It's like a rookie year, your rookie years, okay? So the record at Santa Anita when I was a rookie was 50 wins. And I'm riding with the likes of Lafitte Pincay, who I consider the best rider that ever lived. I was riding with the likes of a man named William Shoemaker, set records. He was if you Google William Shoemaker, I mean, the man was just not only a smart rider, a great rider, and a great ambassador for racing. Then you've got Chris McCarron, who was riding out there, but just recently, probably 5 years prior to that, set the record as the most wins by a jockey in 1 year. Then you've got Sandy Hawley, a Canadian champion that used to come down, and he was he was now riding at Santa Anita. And these are all jockeys that I started riding with when when I went out there when I was 16. You got Chuck Baltazar, Marco Casaneda, Fernando Toro, one of the best grass riders ever. There were so many riders there that I mean, Eddie Dalhousie had just came out from Louisiana. I mean, he was something else. He was a great rider himself. I mean, I could go on and on and on, and then to get there at 16 years old, and in my rookie year, I set the record. The record, like I said, was 50 wins, and I won 85. So I kind of shattered that thing, and I really don't think that record will ever be broken until records are meant to be broken. So who knows?
Mhm.
Maybe somebody will break it.
Yeah, maybe there'll be like a young man like you with that much drive that comes and tries to break that record one day.
He's got to be one blessed little individual. I'll tell you that.
Do you remember your first win? Can you tell me about that? I'm sure you do remember it.
Oh yeah, I
What
can remember my first win. I can tell you my first ride ever.
tell me about that.
Okay, so my first ride was on a Friday night in at Sunland Park, New Mexico. I was on 2 horses, and the first horse I rode was a filly for Cliff Lambert, and she'd never run before. So we come out of the gate, and I break on the lead, and there's a horse on the inside of me, and all of a sudden my horse starts getting out, and I can't. I'm just 16 years old. I'm very little. I didn't have much strength as a jockey at 16 years old, right? So the horse is getting out bad. I mean, I don't think anybody could have held her. She went to the outside fence. I jumped off her because she's going to go over the outside fence, right? Get up, dust myself off. So I'm going back to the auction. I get on my next horse in the last race, right? She runs third. Her name was Parker Petit for Gregory Henson. She ran third that night, and so then I felt good about myself. First, I'm like, "Whoa, what's going on?" I mean, but the filly was like, she was just really green. So Parker Petit ran third that night, and that was my first night of riding. As a matter of fact, I was 15 years old when he entered these horses. The next day I was 16, and then the next day I rode. So it was pretty cool to be named on horses at 15 years old. But then I rode at 16, and then the next day, I turned 16, then rode the next night, Friday night racing. Now, the same Philly Parker Petit who ran third, I won on it a couple weeks later. In November, I won on that filly. That was my first win. Was a filly named Parker Petit for Gregory Hansen at Southern Park, New Mexico.
Wow. And how did that feel? Did that win how did that win feel?
It felt amazing. There's there's a feeling about winning a race that is indescribable. I think. Um, it's it's uh, it's funny because you can win a race for a $10,000 prize, or you can win a race for a $10 million prize. And just the feeling of winning, of course, the money is different, but the feeling of winning is the same feeling. Of course, a $10 million race is a lot more because it's a monetary issue, but the feeling of winning, just the feeling of winning, or any race for 5,000, 4,000, 1,000, it's just a feeling of achieving that goal of beating your competitors, to getting your animal to perform to the best of their ability, is just an amazing feeling in itself.
Yeah, I've heard people, jockeys talk about it, and they talk about winning, and a lot of them, they say it doesn't get old. Every win is like the first win almost. It's like they don't get tired of it. They get that feeling every time they win. Is it like that for you or not?
The feeling, every win is different. I'll tell you that. Every win is different, coming from off the pace or going to the front, or you making the right decision to make that win happen. Or you like, wow, this is so good. He did it basically on his own, and you just guided him home. Or or something may have happened where, if this guy didn't do that, I wouldn't have won this race, or this guy didn't lose his whip, or whatever it may be. But you're right, the win, you never get tired of it. It's always a new feeling. It's a gratifying feeling, and it feels so good. I mean, like I said, it's indescribable. It really is. You'd have to, you'd have to actually do it yourself to really feel the whole feeling of it. I mean, I'm sure from an owner's standpoint of owning a horse, like watching their baby out there run and he wins. I mean, that's a feeling in itself. But to be on the horse and riding the race and winning the race, it's, like I said, it's indescribable, and you'd have to do it yourself. And I've always thought to myself, I said, if I could create a simulator machine where the people can actually ride the horse and in the race, and feel the feeling of winning that race, we'd be billionaires. I could be a billionaire doing that. So, no, I mean, it's just that feeling. It's just a crazy feeling. It's a really cool feeling. No.
I wanted to give an overview to those that aren't familiar. I've done some research on this myself. I was trying to educate myself on horse racing, um, because I wasn't too familiar. Now I'm a little more. But I think a good way to do it is, I want to talk about, generally, there's owners, there's trainers, and there's jockeys, right?
Right.
So, like, owners own the horse, but they're the ones with all the money. They own the horses, but they don't train the horse, right? They hire a trainer to train the horse,
That's correct.
and then
Yes.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go and finish.
Okay, and the trainers are the ones that spend the most time with the horse. They have a barn, they train it every day, probably with other horses, and they have exercise riders that help condition the horse. They make sure that um the one that takes care of the horse, I'm
The groom, the
right,
groom,
the groom
the
and the
hot walker,
vet.
the hot walkers, the vets. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a combination of a lot of things. I mean, without any of them, this game wouldn't be going on. I mean, the industry employs so many different people in so many different positions, and you know, unfortunately, in our industry, a lot of the owners, trainers, and jockeys get a lot of the publicities, a lot of the press. But if you think about it, the person that spends the most time with that horse is the groom. The groom is the one that spends most of the time with that horse, almost all the time, 7 days a week. And there, I really think that there should be a little more publicity on the grooms that take care of these horses, because they're up in the morning at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3:30, whatever, and they're the last one to see that horse at night. They're bandaging them at night. They're feeding them in the evening. They're making sure he's well taken care of. A groom usually has anywhere from 4 to 7 horses, depending on the trainer, what they think the groom should be taken care of, and how much work or how many horses they have, and what they pay or whatever it may be. Every trainer's got a different program, but that groom to me is one of the most important assets to our industry, as far as getting the industry to revolve and keep going. And the hot walkers, the people walking these horses every day, out there walking these horses, I mean, they're two of the most important ingredients to our recipe. And of course, you have to have the owners that provides a horse. You have to have the trainer that has the knowledge to perform to get these equine athletes. I call them. I don't call them animals. They're athletes. They're equine athletes is what I prefer them to be called, because they're athletes. They really are. And to get these athletes to open their lungs, get themselves ready to go the distance that we need them to go. Because some horses run short distances, some horses run long distances. So you have to get these horses to perform to the best of their ability, and to figure out what their abilities are and how far these horses can run. And then you have to have the exercise person that knows how to get the horse to switch leads galloping, to switch back to his left lead in the turns, right lead in the stretch, how to get that horse in that bit and to engage from behind, because the power of them animals comes from them big legs in behind. If you have them big legs in behind engaging, then you have a chance for that horse to reach out and grab. So, I mean, it's so many different pieces of this puzzle that need to be put together. And if you could get all those pieces of the puzzle to fit just right, you'll have a masterpiece. And of course, the horse has got to have the ability, because you cannot make chicken salad from chicken scraps. So
Right. Yeah, and so there's so much in the middle there, the owners and the trainers, and there's so much that goes on there, right? And so many people that are involved with that horse are important for that horse. And then the jockey comes into play, right?
yeah, and
So
then you have to
so
have a knowledgeable jockey or somebody that knows what they're doing, and a jockey's the, the race can run in 2 minutes,
let me let
but
me
it
let me clarify here, because I think some people may want some clarification here. So tell me, I'm gonna tell me where I'm wrong, or correct me. So the way I picture a jockey, jockeys don't train those horses that they ride every day. They're professional riders. So they can have a race and they can be riding multiple horses in different races. So a jockey is like the professional rider that rides that horse that was essentially trained by some other people. Is that kind of how that works?
That's correct, and that's correct, and also there's also a position like in Europe. European jockeys are usually hired by one certain owner. They have a contract with an owner. So let's say that Sheikh Mohammed Al Maktoum has his jockeys. He may have like a couple of different yards, one in Dubai, one in Europe, and he'll hire a certain jockey to ride first call on his horses. First call on his horses means that that jockey is contracted to ride his horses in each race that he has a horse in. So if you own like uh horses in 5 out of the 9 races, that jockey that you contract is going to ride all 5 of your horses. And if you have 2 horses in there, you'll have a second jockey backing him up for the second choice horse that he wants to put the other jockey on. And then that goes. I was very fortunate to have a contract with a guy named Alan Paulson. He owned Gulfstream Air Logics. As a matter of fact, he owned that horse you were talking about, Arazi. He owned that horse, and we won 4 Breeders' Cups in 2 years. And I had a contract with him back in 1992, and it was the first time in 50 years that an American jockey had a contract with an owner. So I mean, I was very blessed to be in that position, and we did very well. We won with probably, I would say, at least 60% of our starts, and that's an asset to a stable, because if you're a big owner and you're spending all this money on these $1 million horses, I would like to have. If I was in that position, I would like to have a jockey that I can have on my horse all the time. So that the easiest part about it would be the jockey has no pressure whatsoever, because you're getting your paycheck no matter what. So you're going to go out there, you get to know these horses, you know what they're like, you become very close to those horses, and you can get them to perform to the best of their ability, because I got to know these horses so well. I knew I was going to get them out next time. So it didn't, there was no thinking in my back of my mind, like, oh, what if I lose this race? Will they change the rider? That wasn't going to happen. So I knew that I could make certain moves with these horses, that I took chances, and it worked out so good. I mean, we won 4 Breeders' Cups in 2 years. So what I'm trying to say is that if I was a prominent owner that had a big stable, I would hire me the best jockey possible to ride my horses all the time, because I could call them and say, "Hey, how's that horse? How's that horse doing? What do we need to get rid of this horse? Do we need to do that with that horse?" And if you're a good horseman as a jockey, then you should be able to tell your owners about your horses, and what they're like, and what happened in the race, and what to expect from them in the future. And Mr. Paulson and I did very well. Like I said, we won 4 Breeders' Cups in 2 years, and I used to fly down from Los Angeles to Bonzo, California, and in his jet copter. He owned Gulfstream Aerologics. He owned Gulfstreamer Jets. He's the one who created that company. So we would fly down in his jet copter, land in his helipad in Bonzo. I'd get on his horses and tell him the good ones from the bad ones. He'd get rid of the ones that we thought were not going to pan out, and we keep the good ones. And we had a great couple years of success.
Wow, yeah, to be the first to have that contract with him, and
Correct.
it removes that pressure on you as a jockey, because you, like you say, the jockeys also have to compete to be the best to get hired, right? But uh, if you have that relationship with someone, it gives you more freedom, it sounds like.
Well, it gives you more freedom to. I wouldn't say it gives you more freedom. It gives you more connection to that stable, and more, and if you have, the owner has you as his jockey, and he'll have his trainer. His trainer's his trainer. So you have that triangle there. Then you guys could all discuss on what your input is on the horse, and if the owner is like an Alan Paulson, he'll listen to you, and he'll make a recommendation to the trainer, or the trainer will confide in you and talk to you about it, and you could come to the owner and say, We think this is a really good horse. I think we should point him in this direction for the Derby or whatever it may be." And I think it's an asset to any big stable to have a uh, a a very good rider riding the horses in the races, and knowing that when it comes Derby time, he's not going to be jumping off to get on a better horse, because he's contracted to you, and he's going to ride your horse in the Derby. And that's to me, that's a no brainer as far as pressure. I mean, who am I going to get to ride my horse in the Derby? Here you got and these guys are great riders. I mean, Jose Ortiz, you got Irad Ortiz, you got Joao Rosario, Fabian Pratt. You got some great riders out there. That are always right there, jumping, not jumping, but always got like two or three getting ready for the Derby. Now, if you're an owner with a big contract and you've got this jockey riding for you, then your rider's going to ride your horse in the Derby, because you got him on contract. There's no way he's going to jump off your horse, so you don't have to worry about that. So he's not going to be like riding other like 3-year-olds and saying, "Well, I'm going to ride that horse in the Derby." No, you're going to ride my horse because we have a contract. So
Mm.
I mean, that's just, I would, if I like I said, if I was in that position, I would probably have my own rider riding my horses, as far as contract to him, and he could ride outside horses like Mr. Paulson. He allowed me to ride outside horses, as long as if he had a horse in the race, I was his rider, and we were very successful like that.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, it sounds like a meaningful relationship between you guys.
Yeah, it
Um,
really was.
so, what is I've listened to these podcasts. I've listened to these interviews with jockeys, and they talk about being in shape, keeping in shape. Um, what they sometimes mention, being strong, that they need stamina. A lot of people, when they see a jockey, they see him on the back of a horse, and a lot of people think that they're just sitting there on the back of the horse. What do you mean by being in shape? What do you mean by having stamina? So what does that mean as a jockey, to be in shape? Does it that make a big difference for riding a horse? Can you explain that?
Well, there's no doubt it makes a big difference. I mean, you have to stay in shape. You're an athlete, so you have to not only know your craft, but you have to know your body and take care of your body and hopefully be ready to ride that race when that race comes up. I mean, I play a lot of racquetball. That to me is a very good cardio exercise, and it also pulls weight off my body. So considered a little bit of a heavier jockey. So I like playing racquetball. I enjoy the sport, and why not do something that I enjoy while I'm losing weight doing it and getting fit at the same time? To me, racquetball is a great sport for being a jockey because it also helps your reflexes. The ball comes back so fast. I mean, you have to have some great reflexes for racquetball, and the cardio's good. I mean, and it's always fun to play with whoever's out there playing. You know, so that to me, that's my enjoyment of losing weight because a lot of guys like to run. I don't like to run. I really don't like to run because running to me is boring. You're just out there running, running, running. I mean, where are you running to? You know? But but I enjoy racquetball. I enjoy going in there and playing racquetball, doubles, singles, whatever it may be. And I might put some rubber sweats on if I need to lose some weight that day, and I'll put some rubber sweats on and go in there. I'll pull like 3 or 4 pounds. So that's very easy to do with some rubber sweats and play racquetball with some really good players.
So like, of course, weight is important, right? Because you have to be a certain weight to be optimal,
Correct.
right?
You have to do your weight.
Hmm.
You have to do a certain weight. But the fitness factor, like you said before, that's a big thing. And then getting on horses in the morning that helps you lose weight and helps you stay fit. So I mean, uh, you could go a couple of days without doing things, but once you go a week or two without exercising or getting on horses, it becomes a little harder to get back in that saddle and ride to your full potential that day. So you have to stay fit on a daily basis and
So
watch your meals you eat.
so what does fit mean? Does it mean like you have good cardio? I know is it like strong quads? Is it because what is it?
I think
Uh-huh.
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Um, I think the cardio helps tremendously. I think your strength comes from the core of your body. The core of your body, from your abs, your stomach, that's where all your strength comes from. And when you dig deep down, you're coming down that stretch and you're having to get this horse that wire and you're tired, your horse is getting tired, you're getting tired. You gotta reach down in that core and just like really, really, really start picking that horse up and pushing him. It's like Lafitte Pinkai said. He was like poetry in motion. And he had so much strength. He was like a little Mr. Universe. A guy, I mean, you watch him in the jocks room, watch him walk down to the showers. And this guy had it. He even had muscles in his back end, in his butt end, whatever. The guy was like Mr. America. So, and I admired the guy tremendously. I mean, he was my idol. And he still is to this day. I mean, and so disciplined. The man disciplined. I mean, just poetry in motion on a horse. So he wasted no energy. When you see him coming down that stretch and he was riding, and he told me one day, he goes, the core of your body is where all your strength comes from. And I learned so much. I listened to every word that man said, and the guy today he looks fitter than a fiddle. I mean, and he's 70 some years old. I mean, the guy just, he was an athlete. And if he didn't break his neck, I wouldn't doubt if he'd still be riding today. I mean, I honestly think that because he's Lafitte Pinkai. I mean, he's just the greatest that ever lived. And I admire the guy's ability to do things that he did on a racehorse. I mean, the fitness factor came into play when that man rode. Because coming down that stretch, and you come up next to the Pipin Kai, you better have some horse because come from the top of that stretch to that wire, there's a quarter of a mile. And when he pumped and he come down that stretch and he says, if I could help a horse this much every jump this much, imagine how much I could help him through that stretch every jump. So he made a difference on that horse, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, you could ask any horseman from 40 years and older what who the greatest rider was, and I think to this date probably still is a
Wow.
Pipin Kai.
So, so what does it feel like? So a lot of people have never ridden a horse. Some people have just galloped on a horse. What does
Yeah.
it feel like to ride a horse? Is it? I was trying to think of analogies for people. Is it like, when you see Top Gun and you're like on a
What it feels
plane
like to
going
private
fast?
jet.
Yeah, like a private jet, or is
Yeah.
it like a roller coaster, riding a motorcycle? What does it feel like to race and ride these horses?
Have you ever ridden a horse?
I've been on one that's walking. That's it.
You never galloped a horse?
No.
There's a certain there's like a steady motion when they're galloping, when they're running full throttle. It's like it's like it's like that. So it's like a steady motion, and you're in rhythm with that horse. It almost feels like you become one with the animal. There's it's it's um it's a zone. It's just a crazy zone. I mean, I felt this like many times around the turn when the horse just. I pick that rein up, I throw across, and I start getting in rhythm with that horse, and I become part of that horse. It's like almost like I feel every hoof hitting the ground, and it's a crazy feeling. I call it becoming one with the animal. And it's almost like you become part of that animal. And if you're working in fluid motion with that animal, and you don't even have to go to stick at that point, because when you're coming down the stretch and you throw across and you feel this horse excel the way what I'm talking about right now, you don't even go to the whip because you know nobody's even going to catch you. It happened to me. Probably the time before the last horse I won on at Phoenix, I won on a horse for OA Martinez. And I knew at the top of the stretch, I never even pulled my whip up because I knew nobody could catch us for the way she was responding in the stretch. The way she switched leads and took off, or him, I'm sorry. The way he switched leads and took off, there was no way they were going to catch him. Oh, no, it was Van Bellevure's last winner I had for him. It was a filly. It was a filly. Yeah. So I knew that entering the stretch, I knew I didn't have to hit her. Cause I knew no, the way she responded, nobody's going to come get her. So you feel that you become one with that animal, and you know that they're the way she kicked on, they're not going to catch her. So,
Is there anything else like it outside of horse racing, like where you get that feeling doing something else, or is that
well,
it?
the only I I can imagine. I mean, I used to drive a Porsche, and I knew that like if I switch from hitting from second to third or from third to fourth, or like going shifting back down to third and hitting that thing. I mean, and going back to fourth. There's no way that this Trans Am was going to catch me. It's like it's something like that. Knowing how much you have underneath you, it's just it's an incredible feeling, really. I mean, if you've driven sports cars or a Ferrari or something like that, I'm sure you've felt the same way. Like wow, I got so much power underneath me. It's crazy. That's why they have horses. It's horsepower. Cars are horsepower. So,
That
you know,
makes sense. Yeah, I've never driven a sports car, but I have driven EVs, and they can accelerate very fast. So
yeah,
I've felt that power, but not like a
yeah.
sports vehicle.
That's called Pegasus power.
Pega-
Just joking.
um. So many people don't know um about horse racing, but like when I was thinking about it, do these horses want to win? Right. So a lot of people see horse racing, they all line up and then they seem like they all just run out the gate, and they're obviously going as fast as they can. Do these horses want to win, or are you just like driving them like a car? I assume you're not driving like a car, but I never really thought about it. But I was thinking about this question. I'm like, do you, what's your experience with the horse when you're riding? Do they want to win? Or are they just trying to please the rider? Or tell me about that.
Well, if I could talk to horses and ask them that question, I could give you that answer. But there is some indication the horses that love to win, it seems like to me. I mean, I honestly have had horses like they know where that wire is. They want to get there first, you know. And there's certain horses that do it different ways, you know. I mean, like you mentioned, coming out of the gate, it looks like everybody just wants to go. That's not the case. I mean, when you open that gate, you have a plan. You have there's strategy. Either your horse comes from off the pace or he goes to the lead. So you have to, if you have a horse that goes to the lead, of course you want a good break and be able to control and dictate the pace. You want to be on the lead. You want to slow it down to where he's relaxed, but you do not want to get caught in a head-and-head match, because if you're on the inside and you've got speed and you got a horse on the outside of you with speed and you're going head and head, that creates stress for the animal. Uh, You understand? He's an animal and he wants to go to lead, and you have a horse next to him. He's got speed and they're going head and head. That's like a competition, kind of like. And then you have the rail on the inside of you. That's even more stressful because you're on the rail and you have a horse on the outside of you. That's a lot of pressure for that horse on the inside. So instead of going 22 and change for the first quarter, and you're going head and head with all that stress, I'd rather go 21 and 3 and have a length in front of him. Because if I'm a length in front of him and he's on my hip, my horse has got his ears up. He's more like cruising out there. You know, he's got no stress on the outside. He's on the lead. I'm still going at a relatively fast pace, but he's more relaxed. I've got more energy stored up inside my horse. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost better to go a little bit faster and to have a length lead instead of being head and head and my horse getting that bit and stressing out, because you're both going fast. You're going pretty fast to begin with. And to go 22, you got a little bit of a hold. You're kind of taking a little bit against the grain on a speed horse. So the guys behind you are like hoping that you two go really fast, and then you guys come back to them at the finish and they're running by you. So every horse is different. I mean, you have a strategy going into the race, okay? And to answer your question, do horses like to win? I know there's certain horses that love to win, and there's other horses that don't like to win. They make the lead and they'll pull themselves up. It's like, I did my job, it's over, you know, or whatever they're thinking. It depends on every horse. Every horse has their own individual personality, and there's no doubt that no two horses are alike whatsoever.
Do
You
do
know.
you do you learn that about a horse by riding them, or do you know that going in? How do you find that out about a horse?
Well, you do study of videotapes on horses that I've run before. Like, let's say I never rode this horse, okay? I'll look at his videotapes. I'll look at his best races that he won, how he won them, if he likes to be on the outside, if he likes to be on the lead, if he likes to come from off the pace, if he likes to be on the inside. There's certain horses like certain, and if he likes a whip or not, if he likes to be encouraged or not. You know, I mean, there's certain things about horses you can learn so much by watching videos. And then you talk to the trainer. You talk to the exercise person. You know, does he like to be on his left lead? Leave him on his left lead. You know, is he like to switch leads when he switches his right lead? Does he pick it up or does he kind of stop it? I mean, I honestly believe that horses are left-handed and right-handed. And people are like, well, what are you talking about? You know, and they say, yeah, a horse goes to his left lead in the turn and then goes back to his right lead in straightaways. That there's the gears, right? So I would see horses going to the front and then coming in the stretch, they would stop. And I'm known as a speed rider. I come out of the gate fast. I go to the lead, dictate the pace, and keep them running. And people are like, "Wow, how did you win with that horse? That horse never. He always stops." I would tell my agent, "Go get me that horse. I'm going to ride that horse, and we're going to win with him." And go, "Why do you want to ride that horse? He always stops in the stretch. Why do you want to ride that horse? It's going to stop in the stretch." Because I see things as a jockey. I've ridden 31,000 races. So I've ridden horses, and I know that's all I know is horses. So I see a horse that go in the front around the turn. He'll be pulling the jockey, and the jockey's just like strangling him, waiting for the stretch. And then when he lets him run, the horse stops. Now they'll say, "Oh, well, that horse might have bled. He might need Lasix, or he might have stressed out and stopped because he bled." The horse didn't bleed. The horse is a left-handed horse. Because when you go in that turn and he's wanting to run and the jockey's still strangling him, he's going against the grain. He's keeping the horse from doing his best running that he could possibly do. So if I go in the turn with that horse and he picks it up, I'm gonna let him open up 2 or 3 lengths. And when I open up those 2 or 3 lengths, the guys behind me are gonna say, "Oh, he's getting away," and they try to go after you on their lead that's not that strong. So they have a right-handed horse, and on their left lead, they're struggling to stay up. So they're not going to have that kick they have in the stretch. When they go to the right lead, they're not going to have that extra energy they usually have, right? Meanwhile, my horse is paddling along on his left lead, his strongest lead. He's opening up 3 or 4. And when I get to that stretch, when I go to the right lead, yes, my horse is going to start stopping, but I'm only going to have 3 lengths on him, and I might win it by a nose. But that horse is going to run a lot better than he ran in his past races because I discovered that that's a left-handed horse, and I did the best with him around the turn, opened up and got the other guys tired behind me of trying to chase me around that turn, right? So it's and sometimes it doesn't work, but a lot of times it does work, and that's where you win a lot of your races around that turn, and that's what I'm talking about, left lead and a right lead horse. I mean, I like an ambidextrous horse to tell you the truth. That's what the kind of horse I love to ride, but I give you a little bit of secret there about right-handed, left-handed horses. And if you could see it on the replays or the videos or the race going live, and I'll watch a race and I'll be like, I want to ride that horse next time. And I'll call my agent and tell him I want to ride that horse. And he'll think I'm crazy, but then the horse will win and he'll be like, wow, what happened? What'd you do? And I kind of explain it to him the way I'm explaining to you guys. And any jockeys out there, don't try that no more. Don't listen to me. I'm just local.
That there's so much to these races, the horses, right? I mean, I would not have guessed that you had left and right-handed horses, and it affects how they run because the tracks always go left, right? You always have the tracks always are counterclockwise, right?
Well, yes, but you have turns. The turns is when they go in that turn to their left lead. In the straightaways, they go to their right lead. So you're traveling down in the straightaways in your right, and then when that turn comes up, you go to the left lead. You lean into the turn. You lean into that turn, and the horse goes right in that turn in his left lead. I mean, if he doesn't, then you try to get him to do it. I mean, you don't try to. It automatically comes usually. So I mean, you got to know horses. You've got to know your craft, and you got to study the other horses. I mean, my job as a jockey is not to only know my horse and his capabilities and hit my strategy on how to win that race, but I have to know your horse, your abilities, and your habits, his habits, so horse's habits. If he tries to get out in a turn, if I can stay behind you and knowing your horse will get out, I'm going to get through. Or knowing you that when you come to that stretch and you go to riding, that you leave that rail. I have to know that so that I don't get stuck behind you. Or if I go on the outside of you and know you're going to try to get out, I have to go up there and keep you in because I don't want you letting somebody else through. So, there's so many different scenarios that you have to come up with and know what's going to happen in that race and know your ability, your horses, and your opponent's abilities. I mean, it's just like anything else. If you go to a football game, you have to know their flaws and their assets. I have to know your flaws and your assets in that race. I have to know my horse, what he's going to do in that race, what his capabilities are, what his abilities are to do in that race, what I can do with my horse, and how much of a sustaining run I can have. So it's so many things that go into a horse race, and it's a 2 minute race. I mean, thousands of things can happen in that race that the public doesn't even know that happens by the time you get to that wire. So it's a lot of different things as far as being a jockey that you have to know and understand about not only horses but their capabilities and and the time of the race. I mean, the time of the race is a big thing. I mean, like if you don't know the clock, if you don't know how fast you're going on a racehorse, then you probably shouldn't be out there because you could be going 21 and change for a mile, and then your horse stopped. And the trainer be like, what were you thinking, man? You're going so fast, you know? So you have to get that horse to relax, you know? You have to get it going, know how fast you're going. Like if somebody's going really slow, like we're going into a mile race, okay? And somebody goes to lead, and I know he's going slow, and I've got to come from off, or I got to itch up there a little closer because when I get to the top of that stretch, he's going to have a lot of horse left. So I better have it be a little closer instead of so far back. Okay. For somebody that's sitting second or third and they're walking around there and you're letting them walk around there, you'd be a fool to do that. You got to put a little pressure on him so he can pick it up a little bit and use his horse a little bit. And then you can catch him at the finish. So, I mean, it doesn't always work out perfectly. And you're going to be wrong every once in a while because everybody's wrong every once in a while. But if you ride a good race and you give your horse a chance to win it, then you rode a good race. You know, you got to put him in a position to win. You got to give your horse a chance to win the race. And that's a big thing for me as a jockey. So I have to give him a chance to win because he's running. It's his ability, not mine, that's running. I'm just trying to be the best pilot I can be. It's almost like having two jets, okay? And the best jet pilot's going to win the dogfight. That's what you consider yourself as a good pilot.
Mm.
So
Wow. There's so much to it. It's fascinating hearing you talk about that because it gives this whole new dimension to the sport. There's so much going on that someone looking on the outside doesn't even really understand, you
that's
know?
correct. And as a veteran jockey, as somebody that knows what's going on out there, I always let the new owners know that if I get to know a new owner or somebody I never met, I'll give them my phone number. And I'll say, if you ever have a video that you want me to watch to let you know what the jockey was thinking, I'd be more than happy to explain to you exactly what happened to your horse in the race. Or something did happen that you didn't see because they've never ridden a horse race and they don't know what the jockey was doing. They're like, what happened to my horse? And then I'll look at the race. I could tell them exactly what happened to the horse. For instance, there was a gentleman, friend of mine, Jim, that lived in Arkansas, and he has a big lighting company, and he spent all this money on this filly named Shanghai Queen or Shanghai something, and he had a trainer in California. And I was at the time I wasn't riding, and he calls me and says, "Hey, this filly, I spent so much money on this filly, and I don't know, she just won't go up on the inside. She this." And so I started watching the replays, and I said, well, Jim, I don't want to tell the trainer what to do because I don't want to step out of bounds and tell him things, you know, that, oh, what does he know about training or whatever. But I asked him, I go, maybe you should recommend that he put some blinkers on the filly, get her focused. She's not focusing in the race. And as soon as the horse comes the outside of her, she's taking herself back because either she got bumped before or she's scared of other horses and doesn't have the confidence to go up in there. So I told him, I go, Jim, maybe you should put some blinkers. And when the rider rides him, ask him to put them on the outside of horses. Because she always seems to be on the inside and then she stops. So why not try something new? Put some blinkers to get her in focus, not long looking on at the other horses. And then not only that, put her on the outside where she doesn't have somebody on the outside if she can see somebody, where she has these blinkers and she's focusing and know that she's got dead aim on the other horses. He did that the first time, and she won. When he did that, and he was so happy. He was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this!" You know. So, you know, it like I said, it's not only it's to have the horse's abilities there, and then when you have the horse's ability, and you have the trainer training the right way, when you have the owner letting the trainer do what he's supposed to be doing with the horse, and then you have some veteran people that can help you look in and see the whole picture because it's always good to see things through core eyes, not just two. You know, so I mean, and that comes in a lot of different things. You know, I mean, in business and other things. I mean, um, it's good to have a good team,
Mhm.
and like I said, I mean, if I was a potential owner, if I was a big owner, they put so much like Mr. Rapoli. I mean, I would honestly hire a good jockey to ride just my horses.
Mhm.
And I mean, if you were to hire, if Mr. Rapoli, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're out there, hire me. And I will guarantee you we'll have a couple Breeders' Cups a year. No, he's a very good owner and he's so great for our game. I mean, he owned Renegade that ran second in the Kentucky Derby. I mean, either that or Higher Irad. Higher Irad is your private rider. I mean, and the Ortiz boys. I mean, those boys can ride. I mean, we've got some great riders these days, but some of the riders I've ridden with. I mean, I'm just so blessed to be able to ride. I mean, let's see, I rode in the '70s, the '80s, the '90s, the 2000, 2010s, now 2020s. That's 6 decades I've ridden in races.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's say we can make it 7.
Yeah, that would be incredible. Yeah, that would.
To be riding at my age alone is just, oh boy. I mean, just, um, I'm going to share a little bit about what happened to me about a month ago.
Go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah.
About a month ago, I'm in Arizona, riding in Phoenix, Arizona, and I just came back 2 weeks prior to that. I've already won a couple races, and I have 8 grandkids, and I've never, my grandkids have never seen me ride a race. And my daughter from Durango, Colorado, Elizabeth, has my grandsons, Colson and Corbin, and they surprise me. They come down to the races, okay, and they surprise me. I'm in there getting ready for my day, and they come to the races, and somebody says, "Hey, there's somebody out here to see you." So I'm thinking it's a trainer that's going to tell me about a horse I ride for him in the day that day. I come out, I see my grandkids there, and I'm like hugging them. I'm like, "Oh my God, it's so good to see you boys!" And then my daughter's there. You know, we're just like, I'm almost ready to have tears in my eyes, right? And so these two boys are 8 and 11, and they never seen me ride in their life ever. They just recently found out I was a jockey in the past, right? So, so the first race I ride, I win. The horse wasn't favorite; he paid $11, but to have that feeling, to win that race, and they're like, "Go G-Paw!" They call me G-Paw, right? So
G-pop.
to win that race and come back and see those little eyes looking at you like, "Oh, guys, my G-Paw won that race," and they never seen me ever win a race ever, or even see me ride for that matter. And just have them watch me on that first horse I rode and win. Come on, that's him. That was like winning the Kentucky Derby all over again.
Wow.
It was just it's something that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. It's just like that to me sticks in my mind more than anything. And it's about him, it's about family, and it's about health to me today. That's what it's about. And this racing thing, it's just a job, but it's a passion of mine. And I'm just so blessed to be doing it. I really am.
You've you're famous for your hands. I was doing some research there, and I was reading, and hands for people that may not know, and correct me if I'm wrong. Um, it means a rider that has soft contacts with the reins, the ability to settle nervous horses, able to communicate with the horse without fighting it. Horsemen often said horses relaxed for Valenzuela. Do you agree? Do you agree with that? Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me if that's true. Where does that come from?
Well, I was a hand model on Zoolander. I was just a joke. But I like I said, it's a blessing, it's a blessing to be able to get in that animal's mind, you know. There's one thing I do if you ever watch me ride, if you ever get to watch me ride, I try to pet the horse before I get on him. Because these horses they're at their best right now. They're like getting ready to run. They're like on tilt. I mean, they're like filling their oats. Okay. So they're pumped up and ready to go that day. And a lot of times there's around a lot of people. I mean, look at the Kentucky Derby, 150 some thousand people are there, and these horses are around them. They're like hearing all this noise. They're like jacked up, and some of them get nervous. So, oh, like let's take a maiden horse that's never run in his life, okay? And you get on in the morning and do whatever and work with them in the morning. Sometimes you don't. Horse comes to the paddock and he sees all these people. He's nervous. He's never been in the paddock with that many people. It's cool, but they've never been in the paddock with that many people, and they get nervous. So first thing I try to do is pet the animal before I get on them. And when you pet that animal, they feel your presence. They feel that you have confidence in them. So it calms them down a little bit, gets them out of their mind of thinking like about all the people. So when I get on them, I pet them again. I go up and down their neck. I pet them. I pet them. I pet them. Oh, mama, oh, papa. Get them, trying to get them to be relaxed a little bit. And once you get them relaxed, you put your feet in your stirrups, you tie your knot, you keep petting them. And if they're a little more nervous, you try to get them, oh, papa, oh, mama, you just get them relaxed. Where they get out of their mind, they get confidence in you. Once a horse gets confidence in you, then they have confidence in themselves. Then they realize where they're at and they look around. They're like, okay, I seen this racetrack. I'm on this racetrack now. Now you're walking in the post parade on the racetrack. Now, okay, now I know what I'm supposed to do here. So then they start doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now you try to get them to warm up where they're nice and loose. Then you walk them, get them relaxed in that post parade, and you get them to that gate, and hopefully they know what they're going to do when they come out of that gate. If they've never run before, sometimes they'll look and see there's so many horses, and they're like, some of them might get scared, some of them might get brave, some of them might know it, just like not even think about that, and just like when that gate opens, just go out there and you're gone. So I mean, it's a process. It's like you're on that track for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe at the most. And, you just want that horse to relax and get in his mind what he's meant to be doing there. Have a good experience is what you want him to have.
Did you start out like that? Did you always have that connection where you could calm them down, or did that come with experience and time?
It's, it's a, ma- it's a, I think it was a process of time and experience with the animals and getting it to know my job as a jockey because I'd never ridden in a race. So I didn't have it like, oh, all of a sudden I know what I'm doing. No, it's an experience of being with animals and riding on a daily basis. Like I said before, I've ridden over 30,000 races. So I have a lot of experience on that post parade with horses. So I've been on there with horses trying to tear it up and not knowing why he's doing this, why he's trying to flip over backwards, why he's trying to get over the pony, why he's trying to. There's some horses that are stud horses that they jump on the pony and they're trying to have sex with the pony right there. No, and the pony person's like trying to get him off him. I'm trying to get him off him. This is a big 1,000-pound animal. So you're trying to do your best to get the horse off him. I mean, I've had that happen. I'm like, whoa, what this horse trying to do? And I'm trying to get him off, and finally, pony will take off, and the horse is by themselves. Now I'm stuck with this horse. Is trying to jump anything he could jump. So and those horses, that happens. I mean, there's unruly horses out there like I said, every individual horse has their own individual personality, just like every human being. There's no two people the same. There's no two horses the same. There's no two dogs the same. I mean, a dog could look just like another dog, but he's not the same dog. I mean, there's that one dog's different than the other. What kind of personality he has is different than the other one. So I mean, these horses are have their own individual personality, and when they have their testosterone in them, they become very strong animals and strong-minded, strong-willed. So you have to be aware and observant of everything that goes on that racetrack and every part of that animal, what makes them tick and what makes them not tick.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
yeah,
So you've won a lot of races, right? Over 4,300 races.
it should have been a lot more, unfortunately, for my up and downs in horse racing. But
Right.
yeah, I've been very blessed just to win that many.
When how much of winning is you've talked about it some, but if you were to say
A percentage?
like well, instinct versus planning, right? So they say you have great instinct, right? You have this ability to see things perhaps
Before they happen.
before they happen, right? So, and you watch video, so you plan ahead. So when you're in a race, right? How much of the win do you feel is the planning, or how much of it is instinct in there? Is it equal? Is there one more than the other?
That's a good question. There's planning in a race. You have a strategy. You read the forum, you watch videos, you think what's going to happen in the race. just like a commentator, like Jerry Bailey. He'll do his homework. He'll say, well, this is how this race is going to shape up. I see this horse going to the front. I see this horse in second. But that could go out the door when the break opens. Like, let's say, for instance, I have a horse with a little bit of speed. I could either be on the lead or sit second or third, maybe, possibly. And there's another horse in the race that's got crazy speed and he's going to go lead and I think he'll come back to me because he'll run out of gas at some point in the race. Now, let's say we break out of the gate and that horse stumbles. The other horse with speed stumbles. Now I'm on the lead by myself. I'm not going to wait for him to get back up and come up there and set the pace. I'm going to take advantage of that, hopefully shut the door on him and control the pace myself where I got an easy pace going on. And this horse back there is like, he's either in a box now where the jockey's having to grab him and choke him down and take out his race or out of the race, or he might not, he might just stumble and not come out and he's like 10 lengths behind the field. So these are audibles that you have to call, or maybe two other horses didn't break, or maybe I didn't break. Now, maybe my horse didn't break for some reason. And now I'm not on the lead where I'm supposed to be or thinking I'm going to be. And there's other horses on the lead. Now, I'm not going to rush that horse up to get up to lead because I'm going to take so much out of him that he won't have nothing left anyways. Just like I thought about the other horse when he didn't break. So if my horse didn't break, I try to gradually get him back in the race where I'm not using too much energy to do it. And hopefully he'll finish in that race. Now, if he's a horse that has to be on the lead, I mean, maybe I'll shoot him up there if I didn't break that bad and might use him a little bit just to get the lead and then hopefully hold on. So it's so many different things, but it's instinct, it's strategy. When it all works out good and you could have the instincts and your instincts of the pace is what it's got to be. You got to know how fast you're going, and how much horse you have underneath. Good horses could go really fast and keep running. Other horses, like cheaper horses, if you set that pace too hard, they're going to stop. They're not going to be able to withstand that fast pace and keep going. So like I said, different horses, different situations. There's no two races ever that have run the same ever. So it's the pace of the race, it's your instincts about the pace, and hopefully it all works out to your strategy. It's the best way I could answer that question.
I was reading that how much of the race is the horse versus the jockey, right? So like I read somewhere it was like 80-20, 80% horse, 20% jockey. Just like I'm sure it's not exact, but what do you think about that? What do you say about that?
Well, there could be 90% horse, 10% jockey. It could be 60% horse, 40% jockey. Like I said, every race is different. There's races where jockeys have won, and there's races where the horse just won it. Look at Secretariat. I mean, nobody was going to beat him that day when he won the Belmont. He won by 25 lengths. And then there's races where, uh, like for instance, Phrase, and when I won the Breeders' Cup on Phrase, I mean, if I didn't let him relax back there and see that 46 and change pace, a half mile for a mile and a half, that's a fast half mile. I knew they were going to come back to me. I just didn't know that I was going to win the race. I knew my horse was going to run good and come close and get the big piece of the pie. I mean, I took off a horse, Navarone, who was 3-1 in the race to ride Phrase for Mrs. Paulson. Like I said before, I had that contract with Mr. Paulson. I took off Navarone, who was a 3-1, one of 3-1 favorites to win the race, a $3 million race, to ride Phrase, who's 16-1, and I ended up winning the race. So you should watch that video. That's a pretty cool video. I mean, I think I did a lot to win that race, and that to me right there was probably about, I would have to say about 40% jockey, 60% horse. Now, on the other aspect, here you got the horse of Arazi. I mean, now I think I was a good percentage of that one too, because I had to maneuver him to the pace and not get him stopped when he made that big run down the backside. Now, take for instance a horse like Sunday Silence in the Santa Anita Derby. I mean, that was probably 90-10. I mean, he was sitting behind Music Merci in Houston and just cruising, and I had so much horse, I just went by him and opened up. So, I mean, there's every race is different. So you can't put a percentage on what it is jockey, what it is horse. So, like I said, it's like the two jet pilots, they have the same, let's say you got the same horse as another guy, and like that match race with me and Julie Crone. Okay. So that was a match race with two jets the same. But who won the dog fight was me because I had pressured her so much that I knew her horse would get a little bit tired. And my horse came from off the base at a 48 half all the time. Now we went 44 for a mile. 44 and 1, that's smoking. But if I didn't ask Summer Mayberry to put a couple quarter-mile works in that horse and put some speed into him, the other horse would have won the race, would have won the match race, because he would have went to the lead and galloped along at a slow pace and opened up. I made her put some speed in this horse so I could actually challenge that horse and take some speed out of him, and hopefully my horse could keep going. And by the grace of the good Lord, I was able to keep him going to get a nose win on the match race. Did you ever see that race, the match race with me and Julie Crone?
I believe I did. I believe I saw a few of
I
your
mean
races, and that was it.
that race to me, I actually think I won that race by doing what I did in that race. So that was like horses were even. I won the dog fight because I really rode a very good race, and talk about stamina. I mean, I rode from the opening of the gate to the finish, a mile race the whole way. I rode the whole way. I mean, that was probably one of the best rides I've ever given a racehorse. To ride a whole mile, the stamina I had to have, and she's just sitting there on she had the better horse. I thought, I wanted to ride the other horse, but I got lucky to win with my horse because of the stamina I had, the fitness factor I had, and the race I rode. And never giving up. I never gave up, and that's most jockeys. She opened up 3 lengths on me. Most jockeys would thought, "Oh, I'm dead," and just gave up the race there. Well, I hope not, anyways. But a jockey would have thought, like, "Oh, she's going to beat me," and they would have uh, not given them the confidence to choke. But I never gave up. I'm got to win this race. I'm thinking, like, if I walk in that jock's room and I'll get beat by the score in this match race, everybody's going to be saying, for the rest of my life, "Oh, you got beat in the match race by that Julie Crone girl or whatever." I couldn't let that happen, and I think that's where that extra energy came down from the core of your body. So I mean, and I don't. I mean, women riders are great. Women trainers are great. Women, period, are great athletes. But the man inside of me thought that the other men were going to like ridicule me for the rest of my life, and it gave me a little bit of a little bit more encouragement to extra win this race,
Yeah.
pick them up and get them there. So it's it's funny because as a man you have this ego, and I try to be humble, but sometimes you have to know that God gave you a gift for a reason.
I want to talk about your 1989 Kentucky Derby win on Sunday Silence. A lot of people immediately associate you with that win. It was iconic, they say, because Sunday Silence wasn't considered the flashy, beautiful horse. The field was stacked, and you rode with incredible aggression and confidence. Um, what made tell me about that race, and tell me about Sunday Silence.
Well, it was 1989, and it was the first Derby I've ever won, the only Derby I've ever won, and it was on a horse that probably goes down in history as one of the greatest racehorses. Um, Sunday Silence. The way I got the mount on Sunday Silence was in 1988. I'd been in Chicago leading rider, and excuse me, when I broke my leg in the gate, a horse flipped over backwards. I had no man in with me. Horse flipped over backwards, landed on my leg, broke my fibula, and I was 19 winners in front of Early Fires on a record-setting pace. As a matter of fact, when I broke my leg, Early Fires, who was second, 19 winners behind me, broke his own record. So, I mean, I was going to shatter that thing. But unfortunately, I broke my leg. I had to stop for summer. I had my brother fly out and help me drive my car back to New Mexico, where I had built the house in New Mexico. And then my agent and I talked, Terry and Gordo, about me coming back to California. And when my leg healed up, I came back to California, and I was working horses and went to I was at the Gap there with Jerry and Gordo, and Rodney Rash came to me and said, "Hey, Charlie wants you to work this horse." And it was Sunday Silence. She was a 2-year-old who'd never started. And the way I got, the way that Rodney asked me to work the horse, he says, Bill Shoemaker's supposed to work this horse, but the horse has a bad habit of wheeling, like starting, and then he turn around and the jockey ends up on the ground sometimes, and she came to the barn and told Charlie, says, I don't want to get on that black horse if you're going to put me on that horse. So Charlie says, go get Patrick. He told Rodney to come and get me. So Rodney Rash came and got me, and so I went to the barn after the break, got on this beautiful black horse. I thought he was a beautiful black horse, and I knew that they told me he likes to wheel. I mean, she's been dumped a couple of times on him. So I was very aware of what he was going to do or what he's going to try to do, but he never tried it with me. We went to the training track. We jogged once around the training track like Charlie Whitnam always did with his horses before he worked them. Got off the training track, and now the break is open, the track's open, ready to work. We take 4 horses to the gate. We go to the starting gate, and I'm on this black horse in the gate. We're going a half mile to work. And a half mile work, decent time's probably about 47, 46 and change is a decent time for the workout. That's a good work. Coming out from a standstill out of the gate, from a standstill, instead of like going to the pole and catching them from the pole on home, that could be like a 46 and change, 46 flat work. So we come out of the gate. Now I break on top, and I'm like skiing. I got my hands on the reins and my feet in front of me, and I'm like waiting for the other horses, and I'm like cruising, right? So we go a half mile, and like I said, a good time for a half mile is 46, 46 and change, 47. He went 45 and 2. So that's like smoking. That's racehorse time, right? That's like in a race time. Pull him up. I look back, I'm like at least 220 yards in front of the other horses, right? That's a whole furlong. So I pull him up, I come back, and Charlie has a little cap on. He pulls his cap up, he rubs his bald head, and he goes, "My boy, that was a good work, huh?" I go, "Senor Carlos, this horse can run. Where do we go in?" He goes, "I'd have to say so, 45 and 2. I'm like, wow, So I'm like thinking, this is a nice horse. So we go walking to the paddock a couple times around, walk to the barn, and I get off him, and Charlie says, tell your agent I want to run, and I want you to run in this race, right? Okay. So I go back to talk to my agent, Jerry and Gordo, and I tell Jerry, Jerry says, how'd that horse Charlie work? I go, that's a runner, Jerry. I go, we got to ride him. He says, where's he going to run him? I said, you'll run him in the next main special weight allowance, main special weight race, right? And he looks at the book, he goes, we can't ride him there. We got a horse in there for Mal's duty. I go, Jerry, we got to ride this horse. I mean, this is a running son of a gun. He goes, well, I don't know what to tell you. So here comes Mouse Duty. I go, let's go talk to Mouse Duty. So here comes Mouse Duty walking up the aisleway, right? And I go, hey, Mel, we need a favor. He goes, whatever, my boy, whatever you need, right? Mel's a really good, happy-go-lucky trainer, very nice guy. I mean, take his shirt off his back for anybody. And I go, Mel, I just worked this horse for Charlie, and I want to ride him. Can I please get off your horse? Because when you give a trainer a call, you got to honor that call. And I had to ask him. I go, can you please get off your horse? And he goes, I'll tell you what, if you get me Lafitte Pinkai or Rafael Meza, I'll let you off this horse. So I think we got him one of the 2 jockeys to ride his horse, so we could ride Charlie's horse. So that's how I got the mount on Sunday Silences. Not only the help of Bill Shoemaker not wanting to ride him, but also getting along with the horse. And then Mal Studi, another trainer, letting us off the call that we had in that particular race to ride that horse. And after that, it was history. I mean, well, after that, really, after I got that call, I called a buddy of mine that loves him at the Future Book in Vegas. And he was going to Vegas that weekend. And I go, look, there's this colt that I worked at. His name is Sunday Silence. See if you could bet him for yourself in the future book. He got him at 50-1 in the future book, and then as you know, the next year we won the Derby. So that's the way I got the mount on Sunday Silence, was through that whole process of coming back to California. It was the Oak Tree meet. I was leading rider there. As a matter of fact, that same meet, I won 6 races in one day for the first time in my life. I got beat on the 7th one by a nose. So that was 88, and then we won his main race. And then his next race, I didn't get to run because I had broken my hand in a fight with Gary Stevens. So I hit him, and I broke my bone in my wrist. So Aaron Greider got to ride him in this next race, and he got beat on him. He ran second to Houston. Houston won the allowance race, and Sunday Science ran second. And then Charlie gave him a little bit of time. And then I was off because of my hand. And then I came back to ride at Santa Anita. And when I came back to ride at Santa Anita, we were coming out of the gate. I broke on the lead, and then my horse made the gap. So he took a left-hand turn where that extension rail is to come onto the main track. He took a left. I came off, and when I came off, I hit the ground, and a horse hit me in the head with his foot. A horse named Black Jack Attack. Chris McCarron was on him, and he hit me in the head and shattered my cheekbone and broke my eye socket. So there's a little indentation right here in my head, but they put a pin in my face right here to hold my cheek together. I was taken to the hospital, of course. And when I was in the ambulance, I'm like in so much pain, and my agent jumps in and he looks at me like, oh, like kind of shocked, right? I'm like, what's wrong with my face? What's wrong with my face? I was like, very like upset. I said, I'm not never riding again. He goes, don't worry, you don't have to, right? And this is like in January, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm taken to the hospital and did the surgery. I mean, when I got out of surgery, my teeth felt tight, right? My teeth felt really tight. So I'm recovering at home. I get home and my daughter had jumped off the bed and she had a black eye like I did from the surgery, right? So my ex-wife's like, look, you guys both have black eyes. You're matching, to make my daughter feel better about her eye, right? So my daughter Christine and I are recovering with our black eyes. She goes to school and I'm recovering at home. And so now now a week passes and I want to go back to riding, right? I'm like thinking I got to go back to riding. I just miss it so much. And I know Sunday Science is preparing to come back. So, so I go to the doctor and say, Doc, can I come back to riding? And he goes, I think you could ride. I mean, I had a pin in my face and it was underneath my skin, but he says that pin's going to come through your skin. It's gonna come through because my goggles are sitting right there, and the pressure of the goggle and that pin is going to come through my skin because it's like sitting right there. I can feel the whole pin coming out of my skin already. So he gave me an ointment to put on it in case it pops out. Right where I put my goggles, the pin was right there. So a matter of time that pin pops through, right? And now I'm putting this ointment on it. And I'm riding, I'm winning races, and Sunday Science is back now. First time back in 6.5 furlongs in the mud. He wins like 115-1, which is a really fast race. 115-1, he won easy, like by 10 lengths. I'm like, oh man, I got me a nice horse here, right? You've just developed him into a nice 3-year-old. So, so now Sunday Science is back. I'm back. I go to the doctor, and the doctor tells me it's time to take the pin out of my face, right? So I ask him, I go, how big is this pin? Is it like that big? A little big. I goes, is it that big? He goes, you'll see it when it comes out. That thing was about 3 inches. It was like crazy big. I was like, oh my gosh. So I saved it in a plastic bag. It was a pin about that big. And then when he pulled it out, I felt my teeth loosen up. I go, wow. And I wondered my teeth felt tight because that pin was in between my teeth or wherever it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I go back to riding, my face holds up, and now Sunday Science gets ready for the San Felipe, and we're in the gate for the San Felipe, and I think he maybe bobbled a little bit, but then he picked it up right away, and I'm sitting like right behind the leaders. I win that race, right? And then we're getting ready for the Derby, the San Diego Derby, and right before the race, horse named Hawkster goes through the gate. He breaks through the gate, right? Chris McCarron's on him. Breaks through the gate, so they bring him back and put him back in the gate. Now the race straight for Sandy Derby. We break. Then Houston goes to lead. Music Mercedes is sitting right there on the inside of him. I'm sitting right there in third position on that first turn. I'm sitting just behind these two watching. And Gary Stevens moves up on Houston. Houston and Music Mercy starts going head and head. So I sit right there, third on their flank. I'm now on their flank going into the 3/8 wall. And then around the turn, I start making my move. Music Mercy tries to go with me. Houston stops. Music Mercy tries to go with me. He can't handle me. So at the corporal, I throw across and just go left hand. And this horse just opened up. I mean, I opened up maybe 10 on the field that day. And Charlie said, you got to get a good race, got to get good foundation in them for that mile and a quarter because it's only a mile and a eighth. So I made sure that horse finished good. I made sure he finished really strong and opened up really strong. So we had some foundation for that mile and a quarter. So he ran a great race that day and won by 10 lengths. And I mean, I was just making sure he finished strongly because Charlie wanted to make sure we got that mile and a quarter in that next race. And we were set up for the Derby.
Mm.
So then we go to Kentucky. And I mean, it's an easy goer, Sunday Silence. Here's the match that we won, the 2-year-old champion of last year. Easy goer was a big, strong, good-looking muscle. I mean, he's by Aladar, just a beautiful horse, beautiful equine animal. And Sunday Silence is just knock-kneed, black colt, beautiful colt, but little knock-kneed in behind. Wasn't the best um, confirmation that people wanted in a racehorse, but still had the ability, the heart of a champion. I mean, just a heart to win. I mean, loved to win. And I love riding this is my black beauty, I called him, right? So we're in a race, right? And I'm sitting there about fifth, going that first turn. Got a decent position, right? Going fifth, right there, fifth, sixth, whatever I was. And then going down that backside, mixing up. I'm like third or fourth. Going that turn, I moved up to like right to the leaders, right? Coming in the stretch. And then coming that stretch, I make the lead. And I'm just trying to get him wire because there's so much noise in the crowd. There's like 148,000 people there. And there's noise on the infield because the infield's got so many people. And there's noise in the grandstand because there's so many people. It's like a noise tunnel I'm coming down. I'm going to ride him, and he's ducking in and out. Every time I tap him with a stick, he goes in. I go left hand, he goes out. He's like lost. He's never been there before, but he's getting there. So I win the race by about a length and a half. And as soon as I hit that wire, all my childhood memories start going through my head. Me watching my Uncle Milo win races, me thinking about Steve Carlton riding up for him, me about being in my family in New Mexico. All my childhood memories just went through my body. The whole thing about the piggy bank, everything just went through my head. It was crazy. It was like everything is like wow, just like. And then I started thinking like, oh, I just want a Derby. I just want a Kentucky Derby. And I'm like, wow. I'm pulling up. I'm like, wow, man. And I start petting him. I go, good boy, Papa. And then right before me up, I started talking to Jim McKay on the microphone. And it was just I came back and Charlie was happy. I was happy. Um and everybody had been talking about the East Coast versus the West Coast, So I'm like just trying to let everybody know that I have the best horse, not trying to knock Easy Go whatsoever. But I knew my horse was a better racehorse. I had so much confidence in him. I went to the press conference and just said, we got this. We won this race because I have a better horse. And to back myself up before the race. And Mike Smith will profess this. Mike Smith is there. He's got a big black cowboy hat. And he came in the jock's room before the race. And he goes, hey, P-Val, Mike Smith I know, bro. You lived with my brother when he was growing up. So he goes, hey, bro. He goes, do you have a shot in this race? I said, I'll win this race. Because he had friends there that were betting the Derby. Like all his friends were there, I go, tell him to bet on this horse. He'll win, right? So we won the race and he paid $7. And it was just a good feeling, to be right, be right on every aspect of it. And to have such a nice racehorse underneath you, a horse that just it's like a cat. He's like a cat. It's like hunting a mouse, If he was a horse in front of him, I could put him right on that horse, And he'd be like a cat just ready to pounce on that mouse. It was just an amazing feeling to have that much like that Porsche I told you I was driving, it's like that, like when I hit when I downshift that third gear and back to fourth, I was going right by them guys, And that's what kind of horse he was. You know, he was a unbelievable equine athlete.
Wow, that's a beautiful story. That experience you described when you won, I mean, that had to have been, for me, I think that would have been just so
It was
unforgettable.
the pinnacle of a jockey's career. I mean, if you have ask any athlete as a jockey, ask any trainer as a trainer, ask any owner as an owner, what race they would like to win. And if the person tells you it's not the Kentucky Derby, they're lying or they've not been in the game long enough to even know what the Kentucky Derby is. I mean, I once told this trainer, I didn't tell him, but um, I said, hey, you're doing really good. I think you're going to be the next bald eagle in this game. You might win the Kentucky Derby. He goes, oh, that's way overrated. The Breeders' Cups are better because he already won a couple Breeders' Cups. And I thought to myself, this guy's lying to himself. He really is, and he hasn't won it yet. But hopefully one day he will, so he could come back to me and say, "You're right. I was lying because you ask a horseman what they want to win, they'll tell you the Kentucky Derby because that is the most prestigious race in horse racing. I mean, to get there, to get that 3-0 to perform the way you do that day. I mean, it's not only the horse; it's a jockey's race. You've got 20 some horses in that race. You better get a good break. You better get a good position, and you better have a little bit of horse underneath you to get the job done. Because that's what it takes. It takes a whole big puzzle to make a masterpiece. From the groom, the hot walker, exercise person, the foreman, the trainer, the owner, the jockey. It's that's what gets into that horse. That's what part of that horse is. That's what makes that horse tick. You know, and if somebody else is different, if they're saying they want to race, they're they're not thinking right, you know, because Clay, the groom, you know, Pam, the exercise rider, Charlie, the trainer, you know, Mr. Hancock, Mr. and Mrs. Gaylord, everybody in that picture put that puzzle together. And I was just lucky and blessed to be the individual to be able to push the button on that jet to win that race.
So, you're now 63 and you're coming back to racing, right? Um, you're starting to race again. Many people may think that at that age, that might be, isn't that a somewhat high age for someone to be a jockey? You know, why are you coming back right now to start racing again?
Well, to correct you, I am already back. I've won 4 races. I ran 5 seconds and 5/3 out of, I think, like 25, 26 horses. So why not? I mean, if you could still make a difference on a racehorse, if you could still get the horse perform to the best of their ability and feel good about it and get the job done, there's no reason why a person can't do what they're born to be doing, you know. And like I said, I honestly feel that I have a gift from God to get horses to perform to the best of their ability, and that's why I do it because it's my passion, it's my love, it's what I think God gifted me with in my life. Besides my family, of course, and my health and I mean that's pretty much God, family, health. I mean, how much more could you ask for? And to have this blessing is like the icing on the cake, you know. So, and if I do it well, and if the day comes where I know I can't do it as good as I should be doing it, then it'd be the time to hang up my tack.
Yeah, you've come back and you've already won. What, it was like 3 you've won already? You won in Arizona?
Four,
4. 4.
4 in 5 seconds and 5/3 out of I think 20 some mounts. So, I mean, that's the fourth race I rode back. I won. You know, and there's a friend of mine, Van Belvior, who I have to mention because that guy is the one that it's it's funny. He used to and about 10 years ago, 20 years, 15 years ago. I mean, I've had a couple setbacks in my life, and he would always say, They should call you from the couch to the winner's circle, because I could basically lay on the couch and then just go back to riding and win. He'd tell me, and I always thought that was a great compliment coming from him, and then to go back to riding, and 3 of the 4 races I won were for him. So I mean, he's not only a good friend, he's a great ambassador for racing, and he respects me tremendously, and I respect him tremendously. And I feel that he's going to have a super big stable in racing, and he's going to do wonderful things as a trainer. I mean, he was a jockey when I was a jockey. We rode together before, and he's a really good. He's a natural born horseman.
Yeah, I was reading online about you had this ability that many other jockeys didn't have, and that ability was when you would come back from a long time away from racing, you could get right back in it. You'd get right back into the winner's circle very quickly, and that's rare. That's not common for a jockey to be away for some time and come back and just immediately get that good again.
Well, I hope that continues. And I surely don't want to embarrass myself out there, and I don't want to keep the horses from doing what they need to do. Like I said, if I'm not out there and I'm not able to do my job properly, I will hang up my tack and I will just start eating tortillas and beans and getting to be the fat Mexican I want to be one day.
But apparently you still have it. So that's that I'm glad I'm going to be following it.
Thank you.
So when you look back on your career, right, for all these decades, um what part of your career are you most proud of?
Well, there is something that I don't know if it has to do anything about my career, but the proudest moment I think in my life, well, I know, not I think, proudest moments in my life were having my children. My 4 daughters. That's the proudest thing that I've ever done is had 4 great daughters. Michelle, Christine, Elizabeth, and Brianna. I mean, those are the jewels of my life. Um, I I was once asked by the Kentucky Derby Museum. They asked a lot of jockeys. They said, "Send us your most valuable thing, the thing that means most to you, so we could put it on display in the Kentucky Derby." You know, send us the most valuable thing that you have, the thing that most proud trophy or the things that means the most to you in your life, so we can put on display at the Kentucky Derby. And jockeys send their trophies. Jockeys send award they got. I send a picture of my daughters. I send my daughters there because that's the most prestigious thing that I've ever gotten in life is my 4 daughters. And I did send a Derby trophy with it, but the most prestigious thing I've ever received from God was my daughters. From life period. I mean, that to me is more important than anything, and of course my grandchildren today. And um, I mean that's the biggest thing in my career that ever happened to me. Besides one other thing that I did get an award for, and I won the KNX Citizen of the Week award for, and I received a written thing that from the from the county commissioners. Michael Antonovich from California wrote this. We, as of the state of California, recognize Patrick Valenzuela for saving little George from this boy named George, who was a 12-year-old kid. And I saved him from a burning motorhome, which anybody would have done, anybody passing by that saw it happen. And I was driving in California on New Year's Day. They have the Rose Parade. I think you've heard of it, right? The Rose Parade. It's a floats, all the floats with beautiful flowers. It's all made out of flowers. So 2 days before the Rose Parade, the motorhomes park along the side roads and they camp out to watch the parade. I live in Arcadia, right next to Pasadena, and I'm driving there with my fiance and my agent, and I see this blue flash come out of the side of this trailer. So I told my Suburban and park. I tell my agent, park the truck. There's something going on with this motorhome. He didn't know what I was doing, so he ran over. I ran out. He went and parked the car with my fiance. We're going to a restaurant right next to where this motorhome's parked. When I look and there's this little kid going back and forth, I'm not gonna go, hey, open the door, your motorhome's on fire. And he goes, I can't, my grandpa get mad. I just grabbed that door. I don't know if God gave me like some superpower or something, but I just popped that door open. I mean, I opened that door right away, right? And I went in there, I got that kid out, and he's telling me that his grandpa is getting mad at him. So I'm thinking his grandpa's in the back room sleeping. So I ran back there and I'm looking everywhere for anybody. Hey, anybody here? And then I ran out of that motorhome and that thing went up like a matchbox. And the fire department got there, put it out to give the kid to the captain of the fire department, and then we went in to the restaurant because now the captain had the kid and they putting the fire out. So we went in the restaurant, and now I'm sitting there having dinner, and the fire marshal comes in and asks me for my name and what happened and stuff. So I tell him what happened, and then as we leave, we meet the man and his grandson. He says, "Thank you for saving my." I didn't save him. I just like did what anybody else would have done. I hope somebody would do for my child if my child was in there. So, unbeknownst to me, a couple of weeks later, KNX from Los Angeles, a radio station, calls me and says, "Hey, we'd like to do an interview with you on saving this kid from a burning motorhome. You're a hero." I go, I don't consider myself as a hero. I mean, I'm just like, I did what was what any man would have done. I hope, and especially if one of my kids did it, I would hope somebody do the same thing for my child.
Hmm.
And so they gave me an award, KNX Citizen of the Week award. They presented it to me right there in Santa Anita. And also, Michael Antonovich gave me that plaque, the award. So we as of California, state of California. And I was just when I thought about it later on, I got all these letters from these kids from his classroom. It just made me feel like, wow. I mean, that right there, just like, wow, I really made a difference in somebody's life, and it gave me the gratifying feeling of of being blessed by God to be put in that position.
Hmm.
I mean, that answers your question of the best things that have happened in my life. Those are the things that have happened. I mean, of course, yeah, winning the Kentucky Derby, that's a jockey's goal, and that's my career. That's how I sing in my career as far as my career.
Mm-hmm.
But to win that, to get that, to be put in that position and to help somebody was an awesome feeling from God that happened. And of course, my daughters, that's hands down the best thing that ever happened to me, my daughters,
Mm-hmm.
and my grandchildren now. I mean, I have 8 grandkids, and those little kids are, to me, I mean, more special than anything in the world.
Yeah. So family and saving that young boy. Yeah, you say most, and I would hope most men would go in and do what you did, but not all men would. But you are one of those men that actually did it. You
Well,
know.
I don't consider myself a hero, but that's pretty cool to have that in in your life, something that, you did something good for somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
So, when people thinking about the future 50 years from now, okay? When people talk about Patrick Valenzuela 50 years from now, what do you hope that they understand about your career, um, that statistics can't explain? When they look back, what do you want them to remember about you?
Well, first and foremost, I hope that they understand that I'm a God-loving man, a God-fearing man, and it I had a gift from God that 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 I was able to become one with the animal. And there's certain riders who understand this. I mean, I think Lafitte Pincay has the same gift. I mean, that man to become one with the animal. I mean, Bill Shoemaker. I mean, Chris McCarron, Eddie Delahousie, Alex Solis, Gary Stevens, Angel Cordero. I mean, these guys, these gentlemen are very blessed individuals. You know, guys like Kent Sormo, Mike Smith. You know, I mean, I've been with so many great riders in my lifetime, and have the privilege of not only riding with those guys, but to get to know them on a personal basis and see where their mind goes and what they think and how they ride and how they stay fit, how they get a horse to perform. Their their specialities and what they do with their craft, and then right now to be like this new generation of kids, the Ortiz boys, Joao Rosario, Fabian Pratt. I mean, um, Ryan Moore, Frankie Dettori. I mean, Frankie Dettori was galloping horses for Charlie Whittingham when I was riding Sunday Silence. A couple years later, he was galloping horses for Charlie Whittingham. He came out in the wintertime to California to learn his craft and and that's one of the best riders in the world. I mean, he um he dominated in Europe. I mean, to ride with a guy named Lester Piggott. Lester Piggott came to California to ride a stake race when I was 16 years old. And I rode him on a race, and he asked somebody, "Who is that kid?" And he goes, "That's Patrick Valenzuela. That's Milo Valenzuela's nephew." And he went on to say that kid can really ride, to hear that from somebody, from a third person to tell me that, it was like, wow, that's a big thing, something good rider, or even like Bill Shoemaker, when he talked to me, he says, "Man, you could break my records if you only put your mind to it." And unfortunately, I had my up and downs, and when they were to to take that right path all the time. But today I'm on the right path, and I'm going to stay with that path and just be thankful what I get in life.
Patrick, thank you so much for being with me today. I truly enjoyed it. I learned so much. Your career, from everything I've seen, is just incredible, and you're one of the greatest. So thank you again.
I really appreciate you, and thank you for having me on your show. And remember, everybody, God bless you. Have a great day.